you ever feel overwhelmed with all of the mandates you have to receive and all the things that you have to do with running your school? Do you feel overwhelmed? And what's worse, are your teachers complaining because everything you ask them to do feels like it's just one more thing added to their list? Right? And what if you can ease that burden? What would it take to ease that burden? And what if you could add creativity to the mandates? That's right, add creativity to the mandates. And what if you could get the job done and take the sting out of your data results? If you're like me, if you consider that question, creative things will come to mind. And what if you could spark creativity? And what if you could be the catalyst of the change? And what if you came up with creative ideas to address discipline? What if you came up with creative ideas to address social and emotional learning without it being a burden on your teachers? And what if you came up with creative ways to address professional development that's been mandated by central administration? Don't get me wrong, I know that's a shift in mindset, but just thinking about the question, you can come up with ideas. You will actually start thinking differently. It's said that whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it will achieve. I didn't realize that I was coming up with these ideas. I just knew that I was in a low performing school and we just had to figure out a way to get it done. And the question, was asked, how can you be creative and how can you be creative and get the job done? So why do you think being creative is just too much? That's the question. So what we'll be discussing today is how principals can spark creativity and be the catalyst for change. Welcome to another episode of Principals on the Come Up, where we transform schools into hallelujah success stories. So join me today, and we're going to have this discussion, and we're going to peel back the onion on three things. And the first is, how can principals add creativity to reduce discipline issues? And the second is, how can principals use creativity to address teacher professional development? The mandates. And how can principals use creativity to enhance interventions? And we all have that going on, interventions. How can we use creativity to enhance the interventions? Hi, my name is Barbara Polk, and I'm known as a turnaround principal. I was assigned to one of the lowest performing schools in the state of Texas and the lowest performing campus in my district. I was also chosen by the Texas Education Agency to go into low performing campuses and get those schools turned around using all of the strategies that we used at my last school. I was chosen by the Harvard Graduate School of Education, their Urban School Institute, where we met with principals from throughout the United States and also principals from other countries, because we all have the same thing in common. We want to make sure that our low performing campuses get to where they need to be and stay there and don't go back. So what I learned is that being in a low performing school was no joke. I mean, I talk about all the accolades, but it just wasn't always like that. The school was the lowest performing campus in the district. It was a school that had about 1,200 students. There were gangs, there were drugs, there were students bringing weapons to school. There were big fights on the weekend, and they'd come on and bring that into the schools. And of course, when it came to academics, you can just forget it. There was no academics, wasn't learning going on over there. And attendance, you came to school. I mean, because sometimes they just didn't have any place else to go. And as far as discipline is concerned, well, that was at the top of the list, discipline. So, what they, had done prior to my arriving, the 2 or 3 principals that were, before me, they They suspended students. They sent them to the alternative campus, and some of them were expelled. It just, we just didn't know what to do. We just didn't know what to do. So we had to come up with a team and talk to the teachers and find out just, who we could depend on. I mean, things were so bad at that school where a substitute would come at 8 o'clock, take lunch at 11:30, and just wouldn't come back. The kids, go to class, there was nobody there. We had one better than that. We had a teacher who checked in on Monday morning, and on Friday, she left, she said goodbye, and we never saw her again. That's right. We never saw her again. So that was the kind of thing. People just came to that school because, they didn't have any other place where somebody would accept them. Sometimes it could be that, they were released from other campuses and human resources didn't check things out. All they wanted was a warm body in the classroom. And by golly, we were glad to take them. But I want to find out who we have with us this evening. I know we have principals. I know we have assistant principals. We have counselors. We have instructional coaches. We have teachers, and we also have parents and people in the community. So if you are one of those, just give us your name or give us a hi or whatever, because this information that we're talking about tonight is pretty important. So what I want you to do before I begin, I want you to hit the share button and subscribe button on YouTube. So if you are on Principals on the Come Up, because this is a private group, we can't share. This is us. You have to be chosen to be allowed to come into this group. But we do have Barbara Ray Polk Consulting, where you can go there on Facebook, and we also have YouTube, Barbara Ray Polk, and just hit that share button, and you can see us on YouTube. But the information that we are going to discuss tonight is information that you probably never ever heard of before. Some of the things that we had to do that were creative in that school to get things done. It's like that saying, you see my glory, but you don't know my story. Well, we're gonna get some stories done tonight. So we're talking about using creativity when it comes to a struggling school. So the first thing, as a newly assigned principal of a low performing school, we're just struggling to get things turned around. And you go through the changes where you have gone in the classrooms and you see you have permanent substitutes in the classroom. You have students in the classroom with the teacher who is passing out worksheets. You have reviewed the data. Students are just putting anything down on the sheet because they really don't care. Nobody cares. They're just going through the motions. So you meet with your team and you come to the conclusion that teachers need professional development. So we planned our professional development. We found some professional development in Austin, and we were going to send our ELA teachers, our math teachers, our science teachers, and our social studies teachers. So I submitted the paperwork for approval, and the request was denied. You say denied? You're the low performing campus. You're the lowest performing campus in the district. And you say that it was denied? I don't understand that. That's right. That's right. So, I just couldn't understand it. So I called my supervisor and I asked her, I said, well, our teachers need professional development. But you've turned it down. You've turned it down. I just can't believe that. So I talked to my instructional coach and I talked to, my leadership team. And I told them, I said, well, they just turned it down. And they just looked at me and they said, "Are you going to accept that? Do you want to turn this school around? Do you know what these teachers need?" I said, "Yeah, I do." Well, I mean, we can't get the job done, if we're getting turned around and you're not doing anything about it. I said, "Whoa, I'm going to do something about this. I am going to become creative." So I made an appointment with my supervisor. And to be honest with you, I went to her with something else, another assignment that she had given us, and I turned it in and I said, "Oh, by the way, while I'm here, I really want you to reconsider that request for professional development because my teachers really need it." And she said, "Oh, I just knew you were going to ask me that again. But I have not approved that." And the superintendent and assistant superintendent, they have all concurred that, they are not going to that training. So I said, "Well, um, while I'm here, can I talk to the superintendent, while you're here?" And she said, "Well, of course, let's just call the superintendent." So I waited, shaking in my boots. I just said, "Lord, is my career on the line? Is this going to be the day that I'm just going to lose my job because I've called out my supervisor and told me to call her boss over her?" But I had to do something creative. You may have said that, I was just going over her head, but I had to do something. So the superintendent came in, and I made the request. As a matter of fact, my supervisor told the superintendent what I wanted. So the superintendent told me that because the teacher absenteeism had been so high throughout the district, that he was not allowing any teachers to go to training during the day or to be away from the district for training, and that was a mandate. So they were not going to approve anything like that, and I don't know where it came from, but I told the superintendent, I said, "Sir, I understand your mandate, but the last time I checked, I had the only lowest performing campus in this district. So that meant what you're saying about no professional development away from the campus, I don't believe that applies to me." So the superintendent said, "Well, okay, well, we'll think about it." And I left, and I said, "Well, Lord, if they tell me to, you know, turn my paperwork in and come and check out, well, then that's just what I have to do." But the creativity and the passion that I had, and the desire to be able to help these children, because I knew that was my calling. I knew that at a point in my career that I was turned down. I knew at a point in my career, no one helped me. No one went the extra mile for me. No one did anything extra for me. I was just left to fail. And I believe that these students were like me, the way I was at one point in my life in education. And they needed me. And I was not going to let them fail. And I was going to do everything I knew possible to get them to be successful. So I left, went on back to the campus. And by the time I got back to the campus, my secretary told me, your supervisor just called and said that the professional development for the teachers have been approved. I said, wow, wow, wow. What the mind can conceive and believe, it will achieve. All right. So let's look at another issue. And by the way, those teachers were outstanding. They went to that training. They brought that training back. They taught each other how to do all the things that we needed in order to get those grades up and that campus turned around. Another issue I had, of course, was discipline. You say, oh, really? You had discipline? Of course we had discipline problems. We had drugs, we had guns, we had gangs. Of course we had discipline problems. And, this was before I knew about restorative practices. And, restorative practices just hadn't made it to my school. The teachers were complaining about the kids. They couldn't teach because of discipline issues. And we're talking about sixth grade through eighth grade. They were writing referrals. They were sending students to the assistant principal's office. We were suspending students. We were sending students to the alternative campus. But guess what? They would all come back. They would all come back. And when they came back basically the same way they left. They just taken a vacation. So I had to figure out what to do. The teacher said we cannot teach with this constant disruption. We know it's a low performing campus. We know the history of the campus. So we have to do something. So me with, myself, I had heard about boot camps, and I said, well, why can't we do a boot camp on this campus? Why can't we do that? We have the same 20 to 25 students in grades 6 through 8 that are causing a disruption every day, or at least the days that they're not suspended. Parents are getting tired of receiving telephone calls. Parents don't know what to do. We need to have some training for parents. They don't know what to do. They send them to us because we're the professionals. They don't know what to do. So we started a boot camp. Was I serious? Well, I told the students, if we had some more instances of discipline problems in the classroom, that we were not going to suspend them. We were not going to send them to the alternative campus. We said, we're not going to be calling your parents. What we're going to do, we're going to have a boot camp right here on campus where you can get the education that you need, where you don't have to worry about disturbing other people, and you will be able to have a perfect attendance, because if you don't come to school, then we're going to go and we're going to look for you. Did that make sense? Well, my pain was all the students that were being suspended, all the students that were being referred, all the students who weren't passing the test. That was my pain. And boot camp eased that pain. As a matter of fact, the kids were talking about it on the school bus, and one of the school bus drivers, he came to the entrance of the building and he saw me and he said, I've heard about your boot camp, and I was just wondering if you'd be interested, to have a volunteer. So I asked him about his background, and he said that, his background was military, and that he was a drill sergeant, and that he would be happy to be a part of our boot camp. Oh my goodness, a boot camp. Yeah, a boot camp. So I got a permanent substitute. We came up with our schedule. We followed the standard curriculum. And when you are creative and you help your teachers will help you. So, what the teachers said during their conference period, that they would go to the area where we had boot camp and they would teach the instruction. They would teach whatever it was. So if it was 8th grade math, if it was 7th grade science, if it was 6th grade ELAR, they came and they taught. They came and they actually taught. They made sure that the students were not missing out on the important instruction. Now, during boot camp, we did have our permanent substitute, and we had our volunteer, who is Sarge, and Sarge is still working at the school this very day because of the success that we had. We had our community stakeholders to come in. We had judges to come in. We had counselors to come in. We had our pastors to come in. We had a regular schedule along with the instructional schedule. So they got the instructional time. They had an opportunity to express the way they felt. They had an opportunity to meet each other. Because of course, remember we got gangs going. We got rival gangs going. And of course, the rival gangs, they're sitting right there in the classroom. And what happened is that those rival gangs saw what they all had in common. They all heard the story that they didn't know where they were going to sleep that Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday. They knew about the fights that were going to take place. And they knew that they were not going to bring that to the school because they developed a respect for the school. All of that came out of boot camp. Was it intense? Yeah, it was intense. Was it a change in mindset? Absolutely. Absolutely a change in mindset. Did my supervisors tell me not to do that? No. They said get the job done. Get the job done. A change in mindset. And then, of course, what about the other students? What about the other students? Well, the other students that were lagging behind or needed work to get to where they needed to be, we had Saturday school. Now, all of you have heard of Saturday school. You get your list together, you get all your teachers to submit names, this one is failing, that one is failing. So we have Saturday school. All right, so we send letters, by the students, tell their parents, they have to be at Saturday school. Saturday school starts at 8 and 11:45, the kids will be coming out for them to pick them up. And so guess what? Who's coming to Saturday school? Not many. Not many. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You have these teachers assigned. You have all these children who are supposed to show up. Nobody shows up. So what do you do? What do you do? Well, it was something that was called suspension pending parent conference. What is that? Something else creative. Suspension pending parent conference. So here's what we did. So on the Friday, we brought everyone into the cafeteria whose name was on the list. And we told them that they had to go to Saturday school because their grades were low. And remember, at the time, we're also building our culture, where we're getting to the point where students want to excel. They want to do well. We are recognizing them for doing well. So we say, if you don't come to Saturday school, then on Monday morning, when we check your name off the list, you're going to be suspended pending parent conference. That means that you have to have a parent to come with you to explain why you didn't come to Saturday school. Now, if you know right now that you have a family issue, or you have problems with transportation, Or if you have a family event, just raise your hand right now. Let's go on and call your parents to verify that information or another family member. And then, you're good to go. So we got the test. We got the test. So first time, oh, we had lots of people who didn't show up. So they can't suspend me pending parent conference. Well, once you develop your relationship with parents, and the parents understand that you're really trying, they understand about professional development, how the teachers were able to get professional development. They understand about the boot camp, and they could see that things were changing. So when it came to suspensions pending parent conference, of course you had a few parents. They were a little upset. I mean, if you can't handle upset parents being in this kind of business, you're in the wrong business. You're in the wrong business, even though we're all in here together for the same purpose. We have the same mission. They may not have the same vision that you have, but we're all in here together. So we explained to parents just what was going on. And by golly, after 2 or 3 Saturdays. Oh, and one other thing. Transportation told us that they couldn't pick kids up. All right, we're at Tyler I campus. They said they didn't have drivers. They couldn't pick kids up to bring them to Saturday school. So what did we see happening? We saw kids riding their bicycles. We saw kids doing the old-fashioned one driving and one sitting on the steering wheel. They're just coming. We had parents with 5 and 6 kids in the car. We fed them. We gave them lunch. We recognized them. It wasn't the same old everyday worksheet. They did hands-on activities. They did fun things. And one kid asked, why can't we have fun like this every day? So why can't we? Why can't we have fun like this every day? Yes, we can. Yes, we can. But you have to have the creativity. You have to have the support. If you want to see things change, you have to have the courage to bring the transformation. And creativity brings the kind of courage that you need in order to transform your schools. So, my assignment to you, principals, this week is to be the spark. Is to be the spark to bring about the change. Be the catalyst. Be the catalyst for change. And you will see, and it's not going to happen all at once. You will see, bringing that creativity and bringing that catalyst and knowing that what the mind can conceive and believe, it will achieve. If you're not a member of Principals on the Come Up, just do a request and I'll let you in. I'm available for a discovery call as I go into schools and help principals with other schools. I'll be happy to talk to you on the phone and talk about the things that are happening at your school to get your school to where it will be a hallelujah success story. We'll see you next time.